What would you do if a woman buried your 7-year-old nephew alive, then sat back, crossed her legs, and toasted your silence with a glass of rose? She figured I'd fall apart, maybe scream, maybe beg, maybe just crumble right there on the beach. Instead, I shoved a shovel of wet sand down her throat. I dragged her across the dunes. I strapped her to a rescue raft, shoved it into the ocean, and let the water decide if she deserved to come back. What washed ashore later? Let's just say it wasn't the same person who left. Look, I've been through hell deserts where the sun fries you from the inside out, jungles thick with noise, and the silent threat of a sniper's scope. But nothing compared to 127 days watching a little boy fade into silence. Eli stopped talking the day they lowered his mother's casket. No more giggles at knock-knock jokes. No more shrieks of surprise. Just a blank stare fixed on the dirt, as if the ground itself had eaten everything he ever trusted. I brought him home, changed the routines, read books by his bed every night, talked to him like he was still there even though all I got in return was that empty, glassy look. Doctors called it trauma-induced mutism. I called it heartbreak, slow as winter creeping in. I'd stopped hoping for a miracle until the morning Eli shuffled barefoot to the window, sunlight across his cheek, turned to me, and whispered, "Uncle Luke, I want to build a sandcastle." My coffee mug shattered on the floor. Not from clumsiness, but from a hope so sharp it made me dizzy. I dropped to my knees, hugged him, didn't pull away. He just looked up and, soft as a breeze, said, "At the beach, where it's quiet." That was all I needed. 10 minutes later, I was loading towels, water, sunscreen, and his red bucket into the truck. Didn't even ask which beach I just drove. 3 hours south to Maple Dunes. He slept the whole ride, hugging that bucket like it was the last piece of himself he could still carry. If this place could bring back even one word from him, it'd be worth it. I didn't know by sundown I'd be digging his body out of the sand, and before midnight, burying something far worse. Maple Dunes was quiet when we got there, the kind of quiet that makes you think just maybe the world isn't broken after all. I parked at the far end, away from the crowds and snack shacks. Eli stepped out, clutching his bucket like a knight's sword. He found a patch of untouched sand, knelt, and without a word started building. No fear of waves, no flinching, just the simple joy of a kid at play. For 10 perfect minutes, I watched him become himself again. He drew shapes, stacked towers, and God, I could cry, laughed when the first wave smashed his masterpiece. He turned back to me, grinning, and it was like watching someone wake up from drowning. And then she arrived. Karen. Blonde bob, sunglasses so big they belonged in a cartoon, white linen suit that probably cost more than my truck. She stormed over, trailed by 2 clones' pearls, pursed lips, and a look like they smelled something rotten. She didn't say hello, didn't smile, just pointed at Eli's castle and snapped, "This is HOA property. He's violating code 4B. I blinked. "Ma'am, he's a kid just playing." She stepped closer, voice cold as sleet. "I don't care if he's the Queen's godson. That tripping hazard needs to go now." I stood up. "He's not hurting anyone." Her eyes narrowed, locking on me. "You people always think you're above the rules. You people, not tourists. Outsiders. Folks who didn't dress right, didn't pay for HOA-approved therapy dogs." She turned on a live, froze, mid-scoop, eyes wide. "Give me that shovel," she barked. My voice cracked. "Don't touch him." She grinned, mean as a snake. "Move him, or I will." That was the moment the sand shifted, maybe not under Eli, but under me. I've seen monsters before, but never one dressed in pearls and a country club badge. If you're still with me seriously, what would you have done? Comment 3 if you're still listening. Because Karen, she wasn't done. She stepped closer. "Move him," she repeated slower. I squared my shoulders, put myself between her and Eli. "Back off." She tilted her head, like I was a stubborn kid. Then she gave this smile, wide, sharp. Another veteran with anger issues. "Lovely. This will make a great report." She snapped her fingers. One of her cronies pulled out a phone. "We're documenting everything," she sneered. My pulse pounded, not fear, but something hotter. Karen locked her eyes on Eli, crouched behind me, hands wrapped tight around his bucket. Then, out of nowhere, she lunged. grabbed his bucket. Eli yelped. I caught her wrist. Let go, she screeched, twisting free. This is assault. This is child endangerment. You're trespassing. Then she did it, shoved Eli, not hard, but hard enough. He stumbled, fell, his head striking a shell. He screamed short, sharp, a sound that split the world. Karen stood over him like she'd squashed a bug. Maybe next time he'll learn to follow the rules. I reached for Eli. She moved faster, grabbed the plastic shovel, and started digging not near him and him. Since you won't move him, I'll do it for you. Stop, I roared, lunging. The other women blocked me, pretending to de-escalate while Karen buried my nephew alive. Sir, calm down, this is HOA jurisdiction, one said. I shoved past, reached the hole, only his face above the sand, lips trembling, eyes screaming. Karen dusted off her hands. Now he's part of the landscape. If he dies, I muttered, I'll make sure the last sound you hear is your own teeth hitting the sand. She smirked. Threats are also an HOA violation, and walked away. I left my nephew buried, left me shaking. I dug with my hands, no shovel, just adrenaline and blood. Pulled Eli out cold, gasping but alive. He clung to me, sobbing, little fingers digging into my back. I carried him to the lifeguard station. Get him water. Wrap him in towels. Keep him awake. The nurse started to protest. I pointed a bloody finger. Now. Then I turned back. Karen lounged in her chair, sunglasses on, rose in hand. She toasted me, laughing with her friends. My body shook, not from fatigue, but from the effort not to snap. She called out, told you that you just explode when you enforce rules. I stopped 5 feet away. You think you've won? I asked. She smiled. And oh, I know I did. I grinned back. Good. Because now I don't have to hold back. For a second, her mouth tightened. She saw a thing in me I thought was gone. I didn't yell. I didn't run. I just walked to the supply shack, found a battered aluminum umbrella pole, gripped it like an old friend, and walked back. Karen didn't move. One of her sidekicks tried to step between us. Sir, I think you need to. I swung the pole, smashed a folding chair into splinters. Karen's glass paused at her lips. You're insane. I pointed the pole at her chest. No, I am awake. She stood, lips tight. Touch me, and I'll bury you in lawsuits. I lowered the pole. You buried a child. She scoffed. I barely touched him. He overreacted. Sand washes off. Red fogged my vision. I dropped the pole, grabbed her wrist, twisted. She shrieked as I yanked her forward, flinging her wine. Let go of me. I told you not to touch him. I growled, dragging her to her knees. I grabbed a fistful of wet sand and shoved it in her mouth. Gasps, screams, phones everywhere, no one moved. This is what you gave him, I snarled. So you'll get your share. Another handful, more sand, blood on her lips. I let Gosh collapsed, coughing, gagging, pearl necklace snapping across the ground. The crowd was silent. One slow clap, then another. Not celebration, just acknowledgement. Karen rolled on her back, fear in her eyes. I picked up the pole, resting on my shoulder. You're lucky I'm not done yet. I walked away. Didn't look back yet. I grabbed the same plastic shovel she'd used, slammed it into the sand next to her. Dig. She blinked. What? You heard me. Use your tool. Dig. This is assault. So is burying a child. I stood over her. Start digging. Right where you laughed. Her hands shook. She clawed at the sand, designer flats lost, pants streaked brown. After 5 minutes, I yanked the shovel away. That's deep enough. I grabbed her arm, spun her. Get in. She froze. Get in. She wouldn't, so I shoved her in. She landed hard, tried to scramble out, but I slammed my boot near her fingers. Stay down. She panted, panic blooming. Now you know, I said, crouching. What it's like to be powerless. I poured sand over her legs. Not enough to trap, just enough to let the fear set in. How's it feel? I asked. Did your HOA policy cover that? No answer. I'm not burying you, Karen. You did that yourself. I turned to the crowd. This isn't vengeance. This is a lesson. Silence, the loudest justice she'd ever hear. As I left, I heard her whisper, please, I'm sorry. I didn't care. I hauled her out of the hole, dragged her across the beach. No one stopped me. Lifeguards just stared. Her blouse tore, skin pale under sun she used to own. At the rescue zone, I yanked out a lifeboat, tossed it down, inflated it with a roar that silenced the waves. Karen whimpered. "What are you doing?" I strapped her in, grabbed the three things: the bloodied shovel, the HOA sign, the sand-filled bucket monuments to her crimes. She sobbed, "You'll go to jail." I cut in. "You're not worth a cell. You're worth a memory." I dragged the raft to the surf. "I'm not burying you, I am returning you to what you used to hurt him." Shoved her into the current. She screamed. The sea didn't care. Neither did I. The raft drifted away, shrinking in the dusk. The crowd scattered. No sirens, no badge, just silence. I went back, Eli wrapped in towels, sipping water. "It's over," I said. He whispered, "Is she coming back?" I paused. "Not today." 3 hours later, Coast Guard found her 5 miles out, crying, dehydrated, smeared in her own vomit. She tried to paddle, screamed herself hoarse. Alive, but not the same. Next morning, her photo hit every paper. HOA president found adrift. No digging sign, taped to her ankle, bloodied shovel in her lap. She called it kidnapping, but too many phones caught the truth. Parents, veterans, neighbors came forward, stories about playgrounds, flags, even wind chimes. Karen's empire crumbled in 48 hours. By week's end, she'd resigned. By month's end, she left town. No farewell, no sympathy. But the punishment didn't end. 2 weeks later, she got a box. No return address. Inside, a wax figurine, her face twisted, mouth packed with sand, a melted red bucket at the base. A note: "You buried yourself." We watched. She filed a police report. Nothing came of it. Neighbors saw her standing on her lawn at night, afraid of sand, water, silence. I didn't send that box. Didn't need to. She was living it every day. People ask if I feel guilty. No. When a venomous snake bites itself, that's just nature catching up. Weeks passed. Eli healed a little. We went back to the beach once. He didn't build a castle, just played in the sand. After a while, he looked at me. "She's really gone?" I nodded. He smiled. First time since his mother died. Some places hold scars. For weeks, I couldn't see sand without tasting blood. Couldn't hear waves without hearing Eli scream. But healing is messy. You have to come back. Next time, Eli walked ahead braver. Dug circles, not castles. Then he laughed as the tide erased his work. Guess it didn't want it. I sat beside him. Sometimes the ocean takes what it's not ready to give back. He nodded, not sad, just older. "Did she scream?" he asked. I didn't lie. Yeah, he was quiet. "Good. She tried to bury me, but you buried her instead." I shook my head. She buried herself. I just showed everyone where the shovel was. The HOA collapsed. A new board, real neighbors, reopened the park. Eli helped build a new sandbox, no fences, just joy. I stayed out of the spotlight. No interviews. I had Eli's voice back, the hum of his laughter, the quiet that wasn't a grave anymore. Last time we went before school started, Eli planted a piece of wood at the tide line. Wrote, "This sand doesn't forget." I read it. "What's it mean?" He shrugged. "Means she'll always know, no matter where she runs." He stared at the water. We made the sand afraid. Some people say revenge leaves you empty. They're wrong. It clears space for healing. Sometimes, justice sounds like the silence after a scream. We went to the beach to build a castle for a boy who'd forgotten how to smile. Instead, we drew a line between silence and justice, fear and action, bystanders and the ones who refused to look away. Karen counted on obedience and people freezing. But some moments burn through rules and demand something more. That day, she wasn't just testing me. She was testing the soul of a community. And she lost. Evil doesn't always show up with horns. It sits in a beach chair, quoting policy. But when it targets the vulnerable, you don't walk away. You act. Healing didn't start with therapy or time. It started when someone showed up, not just with words, but with action. If you're still here, thank you. Not just for watching, but for feeling. If this story moved you, drop a 3 in the comments. Tell me would you have done if someone buried your child in silence? Your voice matters because the moment we stop talking, we start sinking into the same silence that almost took Eli. Like, share, and join the conversation. Because in the end, the ocean may wash away footprints, but it never forgets where justice stood.